Hello and welcome to That Atheist Show. I am Preston, that atheist dude.
And I'm Connie, that atheist lady. And tonight we are going to talk about a lot of the misconceptions that surround vaccinations and reasoning that people use to not vaccinate their kids and how fucking stupid all of them are.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's really bad. So first, to start off, let's just get into a video explaining one of the major reasons why vaccinations are so very important, which is herd immunity. Herd immunity is a huge reason why we don't see these diseases that vaccinations are supposed to repel anymore, because herd immunity. So herd immunity, let's get into that. I'm going to play a video here.
Vaccine-preventable illnesses have been on the rise. This isn't just something that's happening in the United States, it's happening throughout the world. Often these outbreaks begin with unvaccinated people. They spread through them too. Outbreaks occur because of a breakdown in herd immunity. That's the topic of this week's Healthcare Triage. Here in the United States, vaccines are often required in order for kids to attend school. The government does, however, respect the rights of individuals to refuse vaccinations for themselves or their children for religious and even sometimes principled reasons. Sure, they make them jump through hoops in order to get these exemptions, but they do occur. When people don't get vaccinated, though, that can lead to a breakdown in what we call herd immunity. Before we get to that, though, we need to review some basic facts about vaccines. The first is that they aren't perfect. While they do significantly decrease your chance of getting a disease if you come in contact with it, there's still a risk that you could get sick. Vaccine success as a public policy depends not only on the added protection that vaccines confer upon those who get shots, but also on the decreased likelihood that anyone's going to come into contact with the disease. That's what's known as herd immunity. Once enough people are immunized, then there really can't be an outbreak. If enough people aren't immunized and someone gets sick, the disease can then spread. More people get it, more and more people are exposed, and that's how you get an outbreak. That's bad. But if lots of people are immunized, then even if someone gets sick, the likelihood of anyone else getting sick and spreading the disease is really low. That's good. And if there can't be an outbreak, then everyone is protected, even those who can't get vaccinated. This is critical because there are people who are at increased risk for communicable diseases, but they can't be given shots for various reasons. Small babies, for instance, are susceptible to certain diseases, but they can't be given all vaccines. The elderly can have potentially impaired immune systems and be at higher risk for diseases, and the same goes for all immunocompromised patients, who are always under the threat of infection. We get so caught up in the discussion about how vaccines protect those who get them that we sometimes fail to focus on the other important reason immunizations are important. They allow us to protect those who cannot protect themselves. To the research. In 1995, the varicella vaccine, or the chickenpox vaccine, was introduced in the United States, and over time, more and more children were vaccinated. In 2011, a study was published in the journal Pediatrics that looked at how the program had affected the number of kids who died from the disease each year. The first thing the paper noted was that death from varicella went down significantly from before the vaccine was released to 6 years later. Then, from 2001 through 2007, the rates of death remained much lower, with just a few children dying from varicella nationally each year. What's really amazing, though, is that from 2004 through 2007, not one kid less than 1 year of age died in the United States from varicella. None. This is remarkable because we can't give the varicella vaccine to babies. It's only approved for children 1 year of age or older. In other words, all of those really young kids were saved not because we vaccinated them against the illness, they were saved because the other children were. Enough older kids were vaccinated to grant herd immunity that protected babies from getting sick. Widespread vaccination prevents outbreaks from occurring. It protects all people from getting ill. And when parents refuse vaccines for their children, they leave us at increased risk. In order to combat this threat for the last few years, some schools in New York City have been refusing to allow unvaccinated children to attend school when outbreaks occur, sometimes for weeks or more. Some parents thought that this was unfair and filed lawsuits. Just recently, though, a federal court ruled that schools have this power. The court cited the government's right to make such decisions to protect public health.
All right, so what we were talking about is herd immunity, the fact that the more kids are vaccinated, the more it protects the kids that cannot be vaccinated. That's a very important part of the vaccination process. Small children up to a certain point cannot be vaccinated. You can't vaccinate a kid the moment it comes out of the womb. You just can't.
Well, I mean, they do for some. Like you get a Hep B vaccine whenever you're in the hospital.
That's a newer thing, isn't it?
No.
No?
But it's just, for certain vaccines, they don't get them until they're older. So if for pertussis, for instance, you can't, they're not going to be vaccinated against that until
And that's
they're
whooping
older.
cough, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also, I think it cut us off whenever I was talking about this, but I have autoimmune diseases. I can't go and get the flu shot every year. So it helps protect me if other people have the flu shot, because then not as many people are going to be getting the flu, and that means less likely that I'm going to be exposed to the flu because I can't be vaccinated for it. And they wanted me to get the pertussis vaccine while I was pregnant with my last child because the anti-vax movement had caused a resurgence in whooping cough. And because the baby can't be vaccinated for that until they're older, they wanted me to get vaccinated while I was pregnant so that he would get the protection through me. But I couldn't do that because of my autoimmune diseases. So that meant that my son was at risk until he was able to get the vaccine. So there's a lot of things that come into it. Like people that are on chemotherapy, they can't get it there's various different
Medical reasons.
disorder
Valid medical reasons.
That people can't get vaccinated. So whenever there's people that aren't getting vaccinated just because or because they think of there are some that don't. There are some that aren't doing it just because.
The main stupid reason though is religion. The religious
or
exemptions.
They think it causes autism.
And that.
But yeah,
which is
as far as and then the religious exemptions go, before we started the show, I was curious, what is their reasoning they use behind that? Because where in the Bible does it say anything about vaccines, right? It doesn't. So me and Preston went out to look up, where the hell did these people even get this stuff from? And it looks like I came across this website that talks about, living in a godly manner or whatever. And I'm just going to read you this part because I cracked up. I thought it was fucking hilarious because these people can't be serious.
But they are.
It says,
well, explain the site a little bit first.
Okay, this is a website it's called livingwhole.org. It's they have stuff about parenting.
Their catchphrase though is filling in the holes together. So what they don't understand about their religion, they'll figure it out together.
Yeah. So what this is they're talking about all the stuff that the Bible doesn't explicitly spell out for you. So what they're basically doing is they're assuming what must go there, and so they're filling in the blanks with whatever nonsense they can come up with, like this.
Whatever they believe.
It says, let's think about this from God's perspective, and let's go back to the beginning. Okay, so they're thinking about it from God's perspective. Alrighty then.
They're thinking about it in Genesis, before Noah.
Yeah, they're thinking about this in Genesis perspective, in the beginning. Okay, this is how it all went down. In the beginning, God created heaven, earth, day, night, water, dry land, plants, animals, people, and the immune system. He then said, I'm missing something. Oh yes, Adam needs the DNA of a dog, some cells from a monkey's kidney, a couple of mutated viruses, bits of ground up aborted baby, a few carcinogens, some detergent, a little hazardous waste to help trick his immune system into giving him some temporary junk immunity. Well, Adam is a grown man, so maybe I should shoot up his baby first.
I forgot about all that. That was just fucking horrible.
Yeah. Wrong. God saw all that he made, and it was very good. God's perfect. Nothing further is needed.
But, they're forgetting about Noah. And the fact that he wiped out the entirety of existence, except for the two pairs that he chose to get on the boat, but he's perfect. Totally perfect.
Yeah, and so then it basically goes on to say that by humans inventing vaccines, we are playing God and thinking that we hold the key to improving upon God's perfect design. And that's arrogant, and, there's no reason to use vaccines.
I mean,
and then, of course, they say that they use aborted fetal cells in vaccines. And that, aborting babies is bad. So if you vaccinate your kids, you're injecting your babies with
providing, and you're providing by having an abortion these fetuses for them to use on the vaccinations. How dare you? How dare you provide the substance for them? I mean, seriously, like, I just can't. I can't with these people.
Cuckoo bananas is what it is.
Like, the logic
so basically,
is just...
like, we went looking for where in the Bible does it actually say not to use vaccines. It doesn't actually say anywhere. We couldn't find any verses that they link to. It is all people that are filling in the holes.
What I think, though, is that they're taking,
would say.
Like, their logic is that God makes everything perfect, and everything is with a perfect plan and stuff like that. So all of these diseases that we have as humans, all of these things that we go through, every atrocity, every horrible act is perfect because it's going according to his plan to teach us an everlasting lesson that will go on to the future generations, and eventually it'll become the perfect world that it was supposed to be through rejecting the sin. Like, the logic is all kind of there, and it's all based, it has no base because it's based on a book, and it just,
it has no basis in reality.
Yeah, it's like nothing is perfect. Nothing. And for you to say that somebody deserves to have fucking whooping cough is just like...
Yeah, and see, what it is Christians believe that the earth was perfectly designed just for us. When actually, that is not the reality
Nothing
of it
is
all.
Perfect. Like, we've been here for fucking this long.
The earth is not perfect for us. We have evolved to
adapt.
To survive, but it is in no way perfect. Like, we use air conditioners when it's hot as fuck outside. We use heaters whenever it's cold.
We use coats.
We have to put sunscreen on because the sun
will give us cancer.
It also keeps us alive. Will give us cancer. Like, there's nothing about this planet or anything that is perfect for us. It is actively trying to kill us every second of every fucking day, and that's why things have evolved to survive.
It's true.
We have adapted. And viruses are just like us in their effort to evolve and survive. And the more hosts they are able to get inside of, the more they can evolve and survive.
And they could even start to grow to resist shit. And then all of a sudden the vaccines are worth shit. And then more kids die.
Yeah, that's why they have to make the new flu vaccine every single year. And there's so many strains of the flu. So people think that the flu shot doesn't work because, well, I got the flu shot and I still got the flu. Well, there are so many strains of the flu. Chances are you did not get the strain of the flu that you were vaccinated for, because they don't always guess exactly right which strain of the flu is going to be the common strain flu the next year. I mean, it really is a guessing game. They use data to make an educated guess, but that doesn't mean they're always going to be right.
It's science.
Yeah, and so and then just because, or that might even be the most common one that goes around, so you don't get the most common flu, but you might get some other strain of the flu that's also going around, because it's not like the flu's like, oh, hold up, this guy is the flu this year. We're not gonna, get into a turf war with the big flu.
With the flu that's
there.
The
big flu on the scene this year. No, that's not the way viruses work. They are. If you touch a germ and it gets in your body, you're gonna get sick from the germ. That's just the way it works. And so people don't understand that, and they think that means that the flu shot doesn't work. Or they'll say the flu shot gave me the flu, because they might get a little bit sick after they got the shot. Well, okay. No, Just because you got a little bit of a fever and you felt a little cruddy for a few days does not mean
You had the
that
flu.
the flu shot gave you the flu. That is not the flu. The flu is fucking horrible. The flu will kill you.
Actually, this lady at my job, I'm a doorman, so I have very close contact with a lot of people in my building. And this lady, like, she just had a kid a few months ago, and she was coming down the elevator, and she came out, and I swear she was, like, rolling, basically, because she wasn't moving. She was, like, huddling like a little penguin, just, like, not able to actually, like, make her way to the fucking door. I was just like, oh my god, this is crazy. And I was like, what is wrong? Like, why aren't you able to function right now? And she's like, oh, I got the flu. And I was just like, oh shit. I haven't seen somebody with the flu in so long, but, you know, me being there, she had to go through the door to get to the hospital, so I had to be so close. I got sick after that, and I was like, huh, maybe she gave me the flu, but no, had nothing to do with that.
No, because that wasn't, Which, and I mean, some people's immune systems are just stronger than other people's immune systems. So whereas a virus might, like, totally kick one person's ass, it might not really be that bad for another person.
Not everyone
because
reacts
all
the same
of our
way.
immune systems are different. We all have our own little different ecosystem within our body that's adapted in different ways based on, you know, what we've been through in our lives and what other viruses we've already fought off and whatnot. So, but chances are, no, you didn't actually get the flu. You probably caught a cold from some other random person that you interacted with throughout the day.
Well, what we want to talk about now is a bill going through to toughen New York's vaccination law by eliminating religious exemptions for parents seeking to enroll their children in school. So if a kid wants to be enrolled in a public or private school, they usually have to go through the vaccinations to make sure that they're not infecting other kids. Some people are saying that it's their religious right not to vaccinate their kids and still allow them into school. This assemblyman is saying that that is not right. This is happening from a Democrat, and he's speaking to his Democrats saying that they have bought into the garbage that these vaccinations can cause autism. That's a lot of crap. That's one of the main reasons why a lot of the kids aren't vaccinated, and that's really retarded. It's really fucked up. So, toward the end here of this article, after everything has been said, the person who's dissenting against him says that he said all parents should vaccinate their children, but freedom of religion is sacrosanct. There are, of course, circumstances that are so compelling that the government can block a religious practice, but I don't think that's justified in this case. He's talking about not vaccinating your kid. He said in an email, the best way to get more parents to vaccinate their kids is information and persuasion. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. I'm very concerned that there are school districts... That's not
true either.
Yeah.
We should do an episode just on that. No, that's not true either.
Well, he says, I'm very concerned that there are school districts that they think they have the right to tell parents what their religious beliefs are or not. Government officials in America have no business doing that. And Dinowitz, which is the guy who's writing the bill to remove the exemptions, he responds with, where does it say thou shalt not get vaccinated? I believe this is the kind of thing that could ultimately save lives. Protecting children has to trump these other considerations. So he's basically saying your beliefs should not matter in this case because your beliefs happen to be against what the evidence says. Period.
And then, as we've covered, they don't actually have anything from the place they base their beliefs around. There's nothing that they can pull out of the Bible that says what they're saying. It's all just them pulling shit out of their ass, basically, and making it up as they go along.
Well, he even says this. This is quoted. I think that parents who choose not to get their children vaccinated are, number one, being stupid, and number two, they are being selfish. They're relying on all the other parents to get their kids vaccinated, which goes back to our herd immunity.
Yeah, and then, like we said before we got cut off and had to start over, is that one of the biggest things that people say is, if the vaccines work so well and your kids are vaccinated, then why are you worried about my kids not being vaccinated? And it's like, because you're stupid and you don't get it. Like, that's not...
It's because you don't understand herd immunity.
Because we don't... It's like, okay, yes, I do care about your kid dying. I almost said we don't give a shit if your kid dies, but then I was like, wait, no. No, wait, I do give a shit if other people's kids die. But it's like, okay, like, yes, we can't physically force anybody to do anything with their kid. And it's basically what they're saying is why, like, they're basically saying, like, why do you care if my kid dies? You know, if your kid's not going to die. And it's like, well, because
we do care.
And then there's all, in areas where anti-vax has become super popular,
California.
all of these diseases are coming back. They're making comebacks because of, you get these groups of people that aren't vaccinated, and then it's able to transfer person to person, and when it's doing that, it's evolving, and that's
giving
why
it a
it's
place
so
to live.
important, because it's like, well, yeah, because they evolve faster than we do, obviously. So because, you know, evolution happens over generations, and generations of viruses.
We're talking about micro cases.
Yeah, microevolution. And so it's not as, you know, mundane or simple of a thing as they act like it is. And they're like, well, I had chickenpox when I was a kid, and, you know, I was just itchy for a few days, and then I was good. And it's like, okay, yeah, but if you get chickenpox when you're a kid, the real danger of that is whenever you're older, you can get shingles.
Mm-hmm.
And shingles is some bad shit.
Yeah, it can kill people.
Yeah, like, you can get shingles on your brain, and then you die. And so it's like, it's not the immediate effects of getting the chickenpox, because I had chickenpox whenever I was a kid, because, like, the chickenpox vaccine didn't really become, like, a super popular thing until, like, the mid-90s. And, like, it wasn't required for school. By the time it was required for school, I'd already had chickenpox, so I didn't have to get the vaccine.
That's for mine.
And then now, because I have had chickenpox, if I could get vaccinated, it would be very important that I get the shingles vaccine. But I can't get the shingles vaccine. So
you're relying on other people.
Get shingles on my brain and die.
You're relying on other people to be vaccinated so that they don't infect you with the shingles because they're being stupid and not vaccinated.
Well, no,
themselves.
I can get shingles just because I've had chickenpox. That's the thing. Is it's like, so I can just develop shingles because I've had chickenpox. So it's like, this is like, there are later effects in life that come from these viruses that people think aren't that big of a deal. It's like, okay, so they're like, oh, chickenpox isn't bad. But then I'm like, yeah, chickenpox wasn't that bad. I had to wear, like, duct taped oven mitts on my hands for like a week and be covered in, like, you know, ointment and stuff. And then, you know, I survived. And then it was over. But that's not all that there is to it. It could continue to affect you forever. Like, there's still people in iron lungs.
Really?
Yes. I saw it was like the last person in an iron lung. She's like old as fuck. She's really old. And I
think I posted that on the page, but I didn't think she was still alive.
Yeah. But I mean, there used to just be gigantic rooms full of people, and it's not like
they could never do anything the rest of their lives either.
Yeah, they can do anything for the rest of their lives. It's not like, oh, they were just sick for a little while.
Oh, they were disabled, like, literally.
Yeah, and you know, there's viruses that can cause you to become paralyzed. There's so many things, and people act like, oh, it's just a little virus. And the reason that they think that is because they have grown up in a time where these diseases have been eradicated thanks to vaccines, and they have the privilege of never having experienced these atrocities. They've never had to experience how horrible a world without vaccines is, and because they don't know how horrible it is, they are going off of this privileged belief that they're magic and they'll just magically stay healthy because Jesus loves them. And that is insane.
Yeah, it is. And that religious belief just should not be honored. I don't care that they grew up since they were a little child believing that. If they want their kids to be in a school surrounded by other kids, they need to get vaccinated. If not, they need to stay wherever the hell they are, away from society. Just go live in a little Amish corner of the world or something. That's just stupid. It's just
and don't
stupid.
ever let outsiders in, because they'll bring in germs and then get you all sick.
Yeah, and they'll kill you. So let's get into the next topic here. It's pretty short. Cardinal George Pell, has finally testified in the case for the molested Catholic children. This case is happening in Australia, and because Cardinal George Pell is so old and whatever the hell, he was allowed to do a 4-hour video session with the victims of Catholic molestation in Australia. So we kind of want to quote a little bit of what he said here, because we were going to play a video, but since our other one got shut down, we don't think we'll be doing that anymore. So Pell asserted at the start of the testimony, "I'm not here to defend the indefensible. The church has made enormous mistakes and is working to remedy those." He said the church had mucked things up and let people down, and for too long had dismissed credible abuse allegations in absolutely scandalous circumstances. Pell also acknowledged that he too had made mistakes in often believing the priests over victims who alleged abuse. Quote, "I must say in those days, if a priest denied such activity, I was very strongly inclined to accept the denial," he said. And then after this testimony, there was a survivor, an abuse survivor. His name is David Ridsdale. He responded with, "Words are one thing, actions are another." And then Pell vowed to meet with the victims visiting Rome as a way to help them heal, which amounts to sending your kid a $20 bill after abandoning him in his childhood. It's absolutely ridiculous that he would even just degrade this whole entire situation into just an enormous mistake.
Yeah, to call it a mistake is bullshit because, whenever you make a mistake, you don't do it anymore. You're like, oh shit, we screwed up, and then you don't do it anymore. But this isn't a mistake because it's been a systemic problem within the Catholic Church for
decades.
Decades.
Well, who knows? It could be fucking centuries.
Centuries, yeah. I was gonna say decades, but then I'm like, no, I'm thinking like centuries. Like it's been a problem that and it comes down to the way that they think about sex, really, at the end of the day. And I mean, that doesn't justify their behavior. That makes it even worse, is that, they're supposed to they use this as, I know that I've seen some things where they use it as like we're sexually frustrated. What were we supposed to do? And it's like,
it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And
it's not an excuse.
And it's not, there's no justifiable excuse for any of this, but then they just it's like they all knew it was going on. They all knew it was going on, and they all just kind of deny it and act like, no, it didn't really happen because they're not having sex. They're celibate.
Right. And all of the investigations were always internal. So when they're investigating themselves, they would basically ask the priest, ask the victim, and then they would decide, who do I believe? And then they would choose who they believe, and that was it.
They're always going to believe
dismissed.
The priest. They're always going to believe the priest because they believe that the priest has like a special connection with God, and if somebody has a special connection with God,
they
then
can
they're
never
not
lie.
do bad things. They can't lie.
Or they were probably doing it themselves and just defending them because they knew that they were doing the same acts that these people were committing.
Yeah, because they're all doing it. I'm sure they weren't all
crazy.
doing it, but
the main point is that he's saying that this is an enormous mistake, but at this point in time, these priests that have been alleged to have abused kids are still out there.
Yeah, they just
How are you saying it's a mistake?
Whenever they get caught, they just ship them off to a poorer part of the world. That's what they do. They ship them off to communities where they don't think that anybody... They ship them off places where they're like, oh yeah, well, we don't care about these kids as much. We'll stick them over there.
Yeah, how do you compare covering up sexual abuse to making an enormous mistake?
Yeah, it's not a mistake. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Covering it up, and you know it because you see these people and you see how they act around these kids fucking firsthand, and you know that they're creepy as fuck, but because of your doctrine and because of your brotherhood of fucking whatever the fuck, because you can't go around.
Because they don't want to tarnish the image of the Catholic Church.
It's just it's too much. It's
because they care more about the way the world perceives them than what's actually going on. And you would think, you know, they're not supposed to be of this world. They're supposed to be godly or whatever, that it shouldn't matter how the world perceives them, right? I mean, you would think that they would want to do what they can to be as godly as possible. So you would think they would get rid of these people and hold them accountable and no longer want them associated with their organization. But that's not the way that they go about it, because that, I don't know why, but
well, I also want to point out that Cardinal
stupid reason.
Cardinal George Pell is the one who has debated Richard Dawkins. That there's a debate, an hour and a half debate on YouTube, where you could see this guy who literally ignored allegations of child abuse was debating Richard Dawkins in defense of his faith, and his faith is that which allowed him to accept these denials and to say, oh no, this person can't have committed this because I believe through my Bible that this person is a holy person. You know, whatever the fuck they believe, like, it's just like, oh my god. Just
well, and then also because if somebody confesses something, like in confessional, they're not allowed to like they don't report that to the police. Like,
does it still happen though, you think? I think it still happens probably for murders and maybe rapes and stuff like that.
Yeah, they still don't. I saw something a while back about
there's nothing legally binding them to never say it. It's just spiritually binding.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't. So I mean, it's like, and the priests did the priests go to confessional? I wonder if priests go to confessional.
Yeah, they go to their own confessional to the higher person of the thing.
Yeah,
and then the higher person does like a confessional with the higher people.
If they confess it in that confessional, then it's like confidential, you know, they're not allowed to hold it against them.
To have a fly in one of those confessionals, and one of the ones where the priest confessed to the priests, oh man, the information we could gain. That would be so crazy. So crazy.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, this, you know, this person's denying it outside of the confession booth, but then it makes you wonder, like, did they totally admit to all of it, like, in confessional? But they're like, oh, that was between him and God. I was just a vessel for the Lord or whatever at that moment, so I can't hold it
You're
against
a corrupt, evil fucking vessel then. Like,
yeah, like, how does that work? I don't get it. It's all, none of it makes any sense.
Really
because you would, I don't know. I don't understand. The whole Catholic Church, everything about it is just so creepy. And
I went to school in one growing up. I know. It's pretty damn creepy.
It's super creepy. And I don't understand how anybody goes along with this stuff. Like, none of
because they grew up with it. They were born into it, and they don't see it as wrong because
they think it's normal. It's the same way that
it is normal to them.
Whenever people grow up with like somebody molesting them, like a family member molesting them, a lot of times when they get older, they'll molest somebody else too, because they don't realize that it's wrong, because they're
in some cases they might realize it.
They're groomed to believe that that's normal, so that they won't tell anybody that it's happening to them. Because, you know, typically you don't tell people stuff that you don't think is wrong or you don't think is, you know, exceptional in some way. Like, whenever you tell people stories, it's something that you think is like unusual and interesting. So if you're taught that this is totes normal and like it's so mundane and everybody's uncle is touching them at night, you know, it's not like you're not really going to talk about it because, well, that's boring. And
I do that every day.
And then when they get older, they'll do things to other people.
Nowadays with the internet, though, and like, the amount of information out there, it's harder for that to happen, for it to cycle.
It's harder for that to happen now, but it still happens. And it happens. But I mean, it is coming out more now because And then plus, that's why sex education is so important. And that's why that's another reason why in a lot of extremely religious areas, they're so against sexual education and teaching kids about bodily autonomy and, that their body is their body.
Autonomy?
Control your own autonomy. Yeah, whatever.
Anatomy?
Whatever words, man. I know the best
You have the best words.
I know. I don't always say them right, but fuck it. But no. So that's one of the reasons why in super religious communities, because there's just so much sexual abuse that happens within these communities. And it's like, like with the Duggars, how they were like acted like it wasn't a big deal. He was just a curious boy that was.
Because he didn't know any better.
He didn't know any better. He was tempted by his sisters, and it's like they're not taught healthy sexual relations. They're not taught that it's okay to have impure thoughts and that, that's not, they don't, they demonize everything and then that makes people do weird shit. Because if you categorize normal sexual urges and normal sexual behaviors into the same category as incest and rape and like all this horrible shit, then that's just, it gives people a really fucked up view of how all this stuff works and how to interact with other people. And then you end up having all this shit happen. You end up with priests raping little boys and brothers molesting their sisters.
Well, it's like the South Park episode where they made, or no, not South Park. Was it South Park or Family Guy? Might have even been the Simpsons. I don't know. One of those cartoons where they were like becoming Jewish. I think it was Family Guy. They were Jewish for an episode, and
oh yeah, because Lois found out her mom was Jewish.
Yeah, and like the girl was in the pew with them, and then this boy behind him was like, sodomy is not a sin, is it? Or something like that. And it was like, because that's not going into the vagina, it doesn't count as sex.
Oh, that's the episode where they started having ear sex.
I don't know. I can't remember
that.
Was
that? I don't remember. There
was
an ear sex episode where like they were talking about how, it's okay because it's not the vagina and...
But they thought that like anal sex didn't count as sex, and it's just like, well, that's just fucking stupid.
Well, and then
teach your kids better.
Also this practice called soaking, and I thought this had to have been a total joke, but what? Mormons do it. It's where like
they made fun of that in Book of Mormon. Yeah,
they put the penis in and just sit there, like they
they made fun of that in the Book of Mormon.
Motion that God objects to, and I'm like, but how do you get in there if you didn't have emotion?
Well, it has to like close around it, like open the way, and then I have no idea. I was just making that up.
I don't know. It's fucked up. And then there's the people like they'll have sex with like a sheet between them with a hole in the sheet because like the sex is only supposed to be for making babies and like you're not supposed to enjoy it in any way.
It's a spiritual condom. It's to protect your spiritual soul from touching the others.
Yeah, like you're not even supposed to touch your spouse. You're just supposed to dump your junk in there and make a baby, and that's it's so fucking weird. And then this is how you get people that like sexualize ankles.
Yeah.
Because they make everything.
Anything could be sexual to somebody, though. But it might be as a result of all of this over-sexualization of every little fucking thing that happens in our country.
Yeah, this is mostly an American thing. If there's any Europeans watching, they're probably like, what the fuck are you guys
Yeah, they're like, who cares? What the fuck? We see that shit all the time.
People just walk around naked over there, no big deal. It's like,
nobody cares,
who cares?
Yeah, seriously. And as a result of that, it has become an American...
Your knees.
Well, it's become an American fetish to have sex in public because it's so taboo here compared to over there in Europe. So in Europe, they'll make the public sex videos, and then over here, they sell well. Crazy.
Yeah, because we fetishized things. Fetishized. Is that right? Did I say it right? I can't say
Something
words
like that.
tonight.
I don't know.
But we've
It's the best
like
word.
to normal things, like just stuff that is not a big deal. We have turned into these crazy fetishes because it's just normal human behavior, normal human interaction with each other that we have turned into some forbidden thing. And because we're still human and we still have these urges and we still want to do these things with each other because it's fucking normal.
Well, people
now
have
it's
like
we have to go to like these dark corners of the internet and feel like we're these horrible bad people because of it, and it's like it's so stupid.
Well, there's people with like nuclear family fetishes to where dressing up in an apron and fixing up your husband's breakfast and sending him off to work is a fetish, like shit like that. That's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I know that's a real thing. Like they get off on like aprons.
No, not just aprons, just the whole situation of just being in that role of just like, go make me a sandwich, honey, and then he's just like, yeah, go make me a sandwich. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
And that's a fetish now. And that's and really it's probably just an American thing because
I don't know. I don't think it's just an American thing, but I think Americans overdo it. I think Americans can overdo it because they're so oppressive about everything that's related to that. It's related to sexuality. It's fucking
because we
ridiculous.
don't want it. Like they're trying to take sex education out of schools like completely. Yeah. They want it to just be like abstinence only sex education, and that doesn't
work.
You don't learn anything from that. You don't know anything about anything. You're not teaching any healthy sexual attitudes or any
no alternatives.
Health. Like there's nothing of value being taught there.
Like what is an alternative of abstinence? Like there is none. It's just like you are either going to be abstinent or you're a filthy fucking heathen or you're going to go burn in hell for the rest of your life.
And then telling them that having sex is all of the bad just makes them want to do it even more because they're like, well, what's so bad about it? And then you end up with adults that don't even know that sex makes babies.
Yeah, and then it gets really bad. And then and then you have people that need free education.
Yeah, but we don't want to do that because that's socialism.
Yeah, so bad. Anyways, we should wrap up at this point. We missed like 10 minutes, but if you want to catch the first 5 minutes of our video, it's on our channel, but we doubt anybody will really care.
Soon, hopefully.
But
so definitely come see us again next week. We're probably going to be changing the way we do things a little bit since we've had so many issues with
playing videos and music and stuff. So
yeah, so
we gotta go full custom.
But yeah, if you have not subscribed to us yet, subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook.
Send us an email.
Send us an email. We have a group, Those Atheist People. It's getting bigger and bigger every day.
Like 800 people.
Yep, almost 800 people. So you can join there, talk with us. We'll be loud about the episode with other people that watch the show. You can do that in there. And we will see you next week.
Have a good night, everybody.